Like, what if I'm out there, I'm sweaty, and people are shooting at me? Like, how can I get anything done? Like, was there any of that shock? Like, okay, training did not prepare me for like the suddenness of it.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, I think because every generation, we had World War One, World War Two, and then Vietnam, and now we had Desert Storm, and then Iraq. So I think they had that privilege to do that. Like back then, they didn't have like we did all armor Humvees. We had armor all over protecting us, and we only had one guy on top of the turret, just getting ready with the 50 cal or whatever weapon he had up there. So it's interesting what you mentioned because it's not like that when you're outside the wire, unless you're doing foot patrol. Then you're 'cause there were a lot of those for the infantry guys, especially for the infantry guys, that they had to go into the towns by foot and just getting ready for whatever they had to face that day. And I believe they do had to face danger like that, and then shoot and have someone shooting at them from all directions, which is a situation that I never like. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was never into that type of situations. Me being on foot and getting shot at, and then I had to return fire. It was always me being in a vehicle getting shot at, and then we had to respond back.
Right. And what dangers were involved? Like, obviously with war, there's the slight chance of dying. It's a risk there. It's in the terms and conditions. But were there any other dangers? Like now I'm thinking mostly about Vietnam stories, like booby traps or ambushes or just sudden gunfights.
Yeah, we had a lot of IEDs.
Hmm.
So that was
Improvised explosive device.
improvised explosive devices. Yes, and yeah, that was the most common ones. And RPGs, just getting
Mm.
shot at from a distance with an RPG, a grenade, and what else? And just regular gunshots from far away. Other than that, the most common one was the IEDs, the
Mm.
explosive devices on the road. And for the infantry guys, I believe there was the ambush. So most of them sometimes got ambushed.
Right. So now I want to ask, like, I guess this is more of a deep one. So when you're in war, there's two sides, right? You're fighting someone else, and in this case, I assume you're fighting like Iraqis. You're fighting. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're fighting Saddam's troops initially. Then, as time goes on, you're fighting Al Qaeda or other organizations like that. And here's what I really want to ask, because me, I grew up in Dubai. I went to school with a lot of Iraqis. I'm Arab. I'm not Muslim, but I'm Arab. I know a lot of Muslims. So, like, the Iraq war was kind of a big one that was always on TV.
Yes.
Do you fault the Iraqis for fighting back? Like, if you were in their position, would there have been anything you would have expected differently?
No, I wouldn't say that I can that. I mean, you have the right to defend your family, your land, and I wouldn't like having people come to the U.S. and try to take our peace. So yeah, always see the one thing about me is that I always put myself into. I always move myself to the other side and see how would I feel being on the other side, and that's most of the times that's what I did with the Iraqis.
Yeah.
It's just understand where they were coming from, and putting myself in their shoes.
Yeah. And I'm asking this not to make like the questions hard or anything, but because when I ask veterans about war, it's mostly so I can understand the civil war we had in Lebanon. Because I don't know if it's a big awareness in America. Lebanon had a civil war from like the 70s till the early 90s. And like I don't know any Lebanese family that's untouched by it. So me as a kid, when I'm always asking my dad about the war, And you know, when you the younger you are, the less you want to answer your son's questions about the brutal reality. And you know, you have children yourself, so I assume you'd understand his hesitation to do so. But as time went on, I would learn more stuff like how basically a lot of the people he fought, you know, the only difference between him and that person was either like religion or just different sides of of a street. You know, people would be fighting their brothers, and not brothers, but like their neighbors. There was even cases where people would be fighting their cousins because they were in different factions. But in the end, you're just fighting another human, and like the only difference is you're just born in a different spot on the world.
Yeah,
So that's why, like with Iraq, I understand like, you know, when it came to leaders, like if we're talking about Saddam and stuff like this, obviously we can rag on the leaders. We can say, okay, look, this guy was like a bad guy. But then when it comes to just like the everyday soldiers, the people fighting on the ground, like for me, it's like that's just a regular Joe who war, unfortunately, like it in like some weird universal like sequence war, it was his area's turn for war. Did you ever feel that like that connection or that empathy or putting yourself in that kind of shoes?
yes, I actually did, but not see that because there's two type of people out there. There were two types of people out there. The ones that didn't have anything to do with Saddam and his regime, and the ones just in the soldiers. And like you mentioned, someone that just like we did signed up for a job. Let's say that he needed a job, and the only place that he will get one, or the only place that he will feel that he was able to make a difference, was in the military. And now you find yourself fighting against another human being that is just like you mentioned. The only difference might be religion, your what your background. That's it. But this is just a regular Joe, like just like me and you. And the good thing, at least in my experience, is that with those people, regular Iraqis, we actually had a great relationship. You know, we used to give out candy, chips, water, even MREs to just regular people. But then when it came to the bad guys shooting at us, of course we had to defend ourselves and shoot back. And but like you mentioned, yeah, it's kind of crazy that you're shooting at someone and someone is shooting at you, just a regular person, just like you, just defending his country.
Yeah. And like did other people feel that way too within the US military? Like was it like a common enough thing? Because one of the phrases I remember reading is like the best pacifist is a veteran. Like, did your experience in war make you and others probably in your same I don't know what they're called troop or unit like kind of feel similar sentiments?
Yes, a lot. Not all, but a lot.
Because even my dad, like him, like he said if he had to, he would do it again because he was defending his home, but like he was never proud of it.
Yeah, that's the best description right there. You said it. I would like me myself. I would do it again just because. And I wouldn't say I don't like the war. I don't like war. It's just I will defend my country because I believe this is my country, even though I wasn't born here, but I adopted this country as mine, and I will go back to wherever part of the world that I feel like is gonna need of my I don't know my experience as a soldier, and do it all over again, fighting the bad guys, not just shooting at regular Joes on the street.
Yeah.